back on the live. Now I will say this. There was a homosexual man that wanted to be friends with me. And and he was like, well, you don't, he was saying, that's what he was saying anyway. And he was saying, like, did I have a problem with him coming over to my house? Because maybe I wouldn't want him to, because then people might think that I was gay, and I didn't want people to think I was gay. And I was like, well, they may think that, but it's not true, so I'm not really worried about that, And I let him come over to the house. I hung out with him. That was during the time I was smoking weed, and we would smoke some weed together and whatever. But he knew, just like I'm not saying names because of the family, But and there was another homosexual man, and they knew how I felt about it. They knew, because I didn't hide it from them. They knew that I thought that it was a mental disorder. But I did not hate them. And, I did not want to harm them. I just thought that it was harming them. I thought that they would be more fulfilled and happier if they were in a heterosexual relationship, if they were having a family of their own. But, and one of my arguments to him of why it was unhealthy was because it shortens the lifespan. And he began to get worse and worse on drugs. And he did begin to age way faster than, for his age. Like, he was younger than me, but he started looking like he might be 10 or 20 years older than me. In just a few short years, in just like 3 or 4 years. And he went to Florida, and I don't know, I think he got addicted to heroin. And normally it's not cold in Florida, but there was some kind of freakish snow or something in Florida. It got really cold that night, and he was nodded off on heroin, I think, and he died of exposure. So he didn't even live. I think he might have been in his 30s, and he was dead already. It's really tragic. Of course, though, it turned out he wasn't really quite being honest about the whole just wanting to be friends thing, and I had to end the friendship because he got weird. That's sort of on a side note there. Now, I was talking about Sir John Clubb's The Fate of Empires, and he talks about the cycle of how nations, they start off with cultural outbursts. They have a distinct culture that defines them. They've got a lot of vigor, a lot of life, a lot of energy. They got a lot of hunger, to grow and expand. And and then they move into being militaristic. Then they go in, or he might have said, I need to go back and reread the essay, because from memory, I'm probably going to forget some of the stages or maybe put them out of order. But they have that cultural outburst. They're expansionistic. They're exploratory. They explore and everything. Then they go into being militaristic. Then they go into being commercial. Because of their military, that affords them to be able to have a stronger economy. They take over more land. They have more resources. They have more trading partners, Then they start moving into being more into science and then art. And then they start going into excess. Then they start going into perversion. Then they start rebelling against the very principles that their society was founded upon. And they collapse. Someone takes their spot. A lot of people think that like Africa's always been backwards forever. But that's not really true. There was a time that Timbuktu was a great city, a great civilization. You could go to Timbuktu in Africa, and there were castles with limestone, like smooth stones and precious stones and gems, while at the same time in Europe, there was just crudely cut stone blocks and everything. Of course, I think it's fair to mention that if you go back even earlier than that in Europe, Europe was very advanced during classical civilizations of Rome and Greece. But you see that Rome collapsed. Nobody stays in the sun forever. There's a cycle. You know, and what's happened in America is America has become so wealthy and so powerful that it's given Americans a false sense of security, where they feel that they're invincible when they're not, that they feel that they'll always be wealthy when they won't be. And it's led to atrophy. It's led to people getting weaker and dumber and not really being aware of it. Still having a lot of arrogance, still part of their identity being tied up into the achievements of others that come before. They still see themselves and identify themselves as if they are the type of Americans, as the Americans that come before, when they're not. And they've lost their hunger, really, in a way. You know, their hunger for greatness. They feel that they're already great. And there's some nation in the world today, some unknown nation, some nation that people probably won't see it coming, who will one day be the great civilization that people probably make fun of now. People are probably saying, oh, they live in mud huts now. And they'll probably in the future be a great civilization. Genghis Khan was at one point in his life a slave. At one point in his life, he was about to starve to death if he wasn't eating wild rats and onions. Then the Mongolians were hungry for power. When the Jews left Egypt, they were hungry for power. And they had a wealthy neighbor that was in their decline, while they were weak but hungry and very militaristic. You know, China was on the defensive. China had already conquered and acquired plenty of land and resources. They weren't trying to conquer, they were trying to hold on to what they got. But the Mongolians were hungry. They were tired of an empty stomach. They were tired of, you know, but they were always fighting each other. And then somebody finally come along that could conquer all of them and unite them all together. All these people with a military tradition, all these veterans, all these hungry veterans, and unite them into a collective and attack China. When normally people wouldn't, China didn't even see it coming. China wouldn't have even thought that they could fall to some barbarians to the north. And I think America is ripe for conquest. I don't think that a lot of people see that or believe that, but it is. You know, like people would think that there would be no way you could do it. You know, everybody's got guns. Yeah, but does everybody have balls? Is everybody organized? I'm going to tell you that if we were to really be invaded and attacked, a lot of Americans would be too busy fighting each other over who's going to be in charge to really fight the enemy. And, dang, I feel weird saying that because I really don't want to encourage that to happen. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, dang, I feel like maybe I shouldn't post this live, you know. But it's true, though, I think. And, you know, just if you go back in time, you know, like earlier in this, I made a new live. I didn't resume the old one. But in the one right before this one, I'm talking about my views on different things that I call mental illnesses and perversions. And there's people in the comment section defending something that in no way leads to life and in no way leads to social cohesion, and in no way does it lead to the formations of families or whatever, but people still defend it. They still defend basically suicidal behavior. They defend population control. They defend abortion. A culture that's so quick to defend homosexuality, transgenderism, and abortion, is a rotted culture that's about dead. That's a culture easy to conquer. America has moved past the science and arts, and we're moving into the phase of decadence, of collapse. And the final phase is collapse. Look, you say I'm on my way to the next meth hit. It's kind of dark out here. I don't smoke meth. And some people have seen enough of my live streams to know that I used to smoke a little bit of crack. I smoked about $450 worth of crack before I quit years and years and years and years ago. I'm an open book about it. I'll be honest about it all. But I'm not smoking meth. Recently, I quit smoking weed. I quit smoking alcohol when I was, I think, 24. And that was probably the hardest thing to quit. And when I quit alcohol, as I was going through those withdrawals, I picked up smoking weed. And I would smoke weed for almost forever. I would never even really try hard drugs until some heartbreak and breakups and stuff, to where I guess at that time in my life, I just didn't even care about my own health. I was kind of on a self-destructive type of path or whatever. And I've told this story about how I accidentally smoked crack. My cousin melted some crack over some weed ashes. And so I was introduced to it on accident. And I smoked it because he took weed ashes and he melted his crack on it and he passed it to it without telling me. And that's how I tried it the first time I tried it, which I quit that a long time ago. And I never really just smoked it every single day either. But no, I'm not on my way to my next meth hit. And when I did try meth, I never become addicted to it. I didn't smoke it. And I didn't like it. Somebody told me it would be like crack. It wasn't. They said it'd give you energy and motivation. I already got that. They said I didn't feel very much euphoria with it. I didn't like it. I don't do any drugs anymore. I don't recommend doing drugs. But when I did drugs, I liked cocaine. I liked LSD. I liked mushrooms, and I liked weed. I never liked meth. I never got into meth. I don't know why. Sometimes people will get in the comments and they'll accuse me. They'll say, like, Pray and Repent meth hit says he's on his way to the next meth hit. I never liked meth. And when I tried it, I didn't like it. I've always had sort of insomnia, except now, if I didn't have a woman beside me, I couldn't fall asleep. I would just stay awake. I would sleep every other day. And I'm not talking about with drugs. I'm talking about with no drugs. And I'm talking about since I was like 2 years old. I have always had trouble just falling asleep. I would lay down and my head thinks about everything. And sometimes I just get an adrenaline rush for no reason. Actually, there might be a reason for it, but I ain't going to go into that. But I could never sleep. And so I didn't want anything that was going to keep me up. I already had trouble sleeping. And I could never sleep on LSD either. So if I did that, I would do it like on a Friday after work, where I would have, and I do it early in the morning, where there's still color, but it's not too bright because it makes your eyes bigger, But that's just not true, and I don't lie about it. I don't drink. The only thing that I really do is coffee. And I've cut back on coffee to where I don't even drink coffee every day. And then I'd cut down before where I just drank 1 cup of coffee. I used to drink like 4 or 5 cups of coffee every day. I was always drinking coffee. I used to smoke weed all the time. I used to regularly take shrooms and LSD. And I even had a time in my life where I had a rule about it. A lot of people don't want to believe it's true, but it is true. I had a rule where I would smoke crack, but I would not smoke it. After I smoked it, I would not smoke it for another month or 2 months. I had 2 different friends I could trust. I'd go ahead. I wasn't going to do that running back and forth for $10 bullshit. I would buy $100 worth of crack. I'd have my friend put it in a safe. He would ration it to me, and I would smoke it once every month or 2 months. I'd go ahead and smoke about $50 worth, get as high as I was going to get, and then I would just suffer through the withdrawals for 3 days. I would crave it, but I wouldn't take it. And I would taste it. I would like phantom taste it. I'd taste it in my mouth till about lunchtime. I'd go eat lunch. The cravings would kind of ease off, and then they'd come back. And I would just suffer with crack withdrawals for like 3 days to keep from getting like addicted to it. And I know it. I smoked crack in moderation, but I kept up with the money. When I was a child, I'm the oldest of 7 children. There was a lot of stress about not having enough money. There was pride to where we weren't going to ask for help. We weren't going to take government assistance, and we were poor. We were really, really poor. And I just wasn't going to be in debt, and I just wasn't going to watch my money evaporate. So I'd kept up with how much money I was spending on crack, and I'd got to like $450. And it would have been like $500 worth of crack if you count the 2 times I was given free crack. And I was just like, I was like, where's my money? And I was like, that $50 just got smoked away like that. And I was just like, I got to quit crack. I ain't about to be poor. I ain't about to be broke. And I knew I had a problem really quickly. You knew not to be smoking crack. With weed, it took about 20 years for me to convince myself, or let me see, probably not 20 years. That's probably me. Yeah, I'm 38. I'm almost 40. So almost 20 years. It took a long time for me to convince myself, hey, you need to quit smoking weed, because I didn't see harm in it. But with alcohol, it was obvious that I had a problem with alcohol when I got addicted to it, because I couldn't even drive home from work without shaking in anxiety. So I'd have to drink a little bit to not be shaken. And when I started drinking while driving, that's when I was like, I got a problem. I got to quit. And quitting alcohol was the hardest thing to quit. That was harder than quitting crack, which I did alcohol. I did not do alcohol in moderation. I drank to get drunk. But I mean, it's just slander on me. Ever since I have done live stream, I have not done any meth or crack or any of that. But there's people there'll always be people getting on the live stream, and they'll say, oh, he's on his way to do crack or meth, but it's really not true. And it's not even that I would lie about it, and people who know me know that about me. Like if I was on crack, or if I would tell you, I really don't give a fuck. I really don't. I never have. I couldn't if I wanted to. That's how I am. But it's really, I'm really telling the truth. And but anyway, I did have problems with alcohol, and I have experienced crack withdrawals quite a few times. And so like when I helped other people get sober, and I wouldn't bullshit with them. It is hard, but it's not as hard as they say it is. They just don't want to. You do what you want to do. And a lot of times you may want contradictory things. For instance, I wanted to quit and I wanted to keep doing it. But there come a point to where I wanted to quit more than I wanted to keep doing it. And whatever you want the most is what wins. It's easy to do what you want to do. So there's a lot of people that they make excuses for their family members, or they want to blame the dealer, or they want to try to shift the blame off of the person. They'll have somebody that they make so many excuses for. They'll say, well, the withdrawals are so bad, or they're just addicted, or addiction's a disease, or you don't understand, and I just would never bullshit with them. I'm like, I felt the withdrawals of a lot of hard drugs, and you just don't want to quit. That's the truth. If you want to quit, you can quit anything. But, it's been cloudy all day. It's been cloudy all day. It's kind of dark here. If my pupils are dilated, it's just because it's dark. And really, look, they're not really dilated like that, And I'm saying too much to where it's like people may think, oh, he protests too much. But let's see. Hey man, I'm gonna check out for the night. Yeah, peace. If you've already left before this, I wish I would have. I wish I would have read it earlier. Don't pay attention to them. They're just lashing out for various reasons, and I get that too. Because I say things. I'm an opinionated person. I'm not high on the what's it called? The scale of simpleness. I don't have a problem with that tension where people disagree. I'm not like super conflict avoidant. I'm not that type of person. And so I'm going to say things that offend people, that piss people. Not because I want to. My goal is not to offend people. I'm not like trying to offend people, but I realize that I have opinions that offend people, and I expect people to lash out and say things that. But I don't know. It's just ever since I got enough viewers to be able to, I forget what it was. You had to get, maybe it was 50 or maybe it was 100. It might be 50. You've got to get 50 subscribers to be able to go live. And from my very first few lives, I had some people accuse me of being on drugs or whatever. And I really wasn't, not a single time. Now I did smoke some weed I did smoke some weed. You know, I hadn't quite quit weed yet, but I wasn't doing any of those hard drugs. And then there are some people that subscribe to me back. You know, I had this channel, like, it might be going on 7 years now, but like there were some videos I posted 6 years ago that never got any traction. Like almost 6 years passed with only like 1 or 2 views and like 3 or 4 dislikes, because people would come see things I'd say in the comment section on YouTube, get mad and go dislike my videos. So it put me really low in the algorithm. But I had some friends from the past that know me from the past who would get on the live and they would comment stuff about, you know, that wasn't. And I had some people that would get in the comments and just lie. Like there was somebody that got in the comments and they said, I used to smoke crack with you. And that is a lie, because I used to smoke crack in secret and not share it with people. There was only 3 people I've ever shared crack with. And the people in the live stream was just totally lying. But I really don't do any hard drugs. And I don't even smoke weed. I don't do any drugs anymore, which is sort of, I don't know. You know, I don't know why I really even, like, I never thought I would do drugs. When I was in high school, I signed the DARE pledge. You know, I was like, oh, this is easy. I promise I won't never do drugs. Of course I'm not going to do any drugs. And my brother rolled up weed. He rolled up his own cigarettes, his own tobacco cigarettes. He would buy, I think they were called Bugle or something. He would buy these paper wraps. And he would buy this tobacco. No, I think the tobacco was called Bugle, and the wrap was called Job, or I don't even remember really. But anyway, he would roll up his own cigarettes to save money, and he was secretly smoking weed, but I didn't know it. And he would put tobacco at the end of his joint. That way he could throw the end and not waste any weed. He wasn't throwing away a little bit of weed at the end, you know. It was almost like a filter. And so he would light the end with the weed end he would light, and then it just looks like a cigarette. You really can't tell the difference. I mean, you could smell it, but I don't know, I didn't pick up on it because I had never smoked weed at the time. And I got my truck stuck in the mud, and I was really stressed out, and I was an alcoholic back then. I was drinking wine, and I was kind of drunk from that a little bit. And I was playing my guitar because I'd give up on getting the truck out the mud. Until somebody got there to help me, it was just stuck. And I used to play the guitar a little bit. I wasn't never really all that good at it. I didn't put too much into it. But anyway, I was trying to write the rest of the music for a song I was working on. And I just jokingly said, like, maybe if I could get high like the Beatles or something like that, I would come up with the rest of the song. And my brother was like, really? You know, you want to smoke? Here, smoke this. This is weed. And I didn't believe him. Because, you know, like I say, there was tobacco at the end of it. The front of it was lit up, so I couldn't see no difference. And I thought he was just lying to me. You know, I never thought that he would have weed or be able to get a hold of it or anything like that. And so I had smoked cigars before, you know, and so I smoked it to prove that he was wrong. And he was right, you know, and so I smoked weed on accident, and I liked it. And then when I was going through the alcohol withdrawals, I had a lot of anxiety,
and I'd almost be scared I'd have a heart attack. My heart would it would beat fast, it would skip a beat, it would just act all irregularly. Them alcohol withdrawals were no joke. That was rough. And I used the weed as sort of like a coping mechanism for the stress of the alcohol withdrawals. And then I just sort of traded one drug for the other. And the same thing, like I said, with the crack. My cousin had melted crack over the weed ashes. We were smoking weed together in a glass pipe. And when you burn crack, it don't really give off a smell. Like if someone's smoking meth, it's a god awful smell. Or if someone smokes weed or tobacco, you can smell it. But crack don't really give off too much of a smell in the smoke. I had no idea. I had no idea when it was given to me. And I always said if anybody ever laced my weed with anything, I'd get mad and fight them. And a lot of people say that they would do that. But if you ain't never got high on crack before, and then you just get high on crack, I was just so high that I didn't care. I wasn't mad. But I'm talking too much about it. I don't really want to be talking all this stuff about drugs, really. But people just falsely accuse me. I really ain't. I'm not on the way to get no meth hit. I'm on the way to eat my tacos that I left in the truck. My greenhouse, they said my greenhouse was going to come not today. They said this was going to be here Wednesday. And it's already here on a Monday. And then they said that I bought this mullein leaf extract. It's supposed to help cleanse your lungs. And I bought this parasite detox. I don't have parasites or any symptoms of parasites, but I've been watching these videos on YouTube where they're saying that doctors never check for parasites and more Americans have parasites than they think, and then there's smaller parasites and all this kind of stuff. And it just got me thinking, shit, I'll just in case. And it's got like wormwood, a walnut hull, cloves, and something else. I don't remember. It's got like 4 different ingredients in it, some kind of herbal something. And that in the mullein extract together was like $50. So I waited 3-4 weeks, saving a little money here and there till I could afford to just spend $50 on some mullein extract and parasite detox. And I'm gonna just try. I think I'm gonna go on like a week fast for about a week and do all that. But anyway, that is supposed to come in the mail Wednesday. Or it was, and then they changed it and said Tuesday. They said this greenhouse was gonna come in the mail. I haven't put it together. I mean, I just carried it in the house. Actually, there's a little bit. But since that got here on Monday, maybe the other stuff would get here early too. And I want to be here when it gets here because I'm kind of worried that the dogs might drag it off somewhere. One time, Brittany ordered a pumpkin pie from Walmart, and she put a note to put it up on that dryer so the dogs won't get it. And they put it on the porch, and the dogs chewed it up and ate it all. I'm not about to eat these tacos on the... Oh, dang it. I thought there was just tacos in this bag, but Brittany's got her order of fries in here. And I just dumped a lot of them out. See, I didn't let that derail me too much. I was talking about completely different stuff. And then somebody makes that comment, and then I go on a long talk about irrelevant stuff. Bro just yapping to himself. Basically, that's what I'm doing. It's like, you know how people write journals that no one will ever read or anything like that? I only have, I don't know, I haven't checked the number, but it's something like 220 subscribers or somewhere around that. And then of those subscribers, like I got 2 people watching me right now, you know? I pretty much am just, I mean, that's accurate. I agree with that. Bro just yapping to himself, pretty much. It's just like venting, just, you know, whatever comes to my head. But you know what? I used to think that I had to like before I could go live because I was able to go live a long time before I did. And I thought, I got to get up some really good content before I go live. But then I started watching the other lives, and there was like this homeless guy that just asked for money for 14 hours straight. There were people like reading tarot cards. There were people just, just like wearing not a lot of clothes and just trying to be like a thirst trap channel. And I thought, dang, there's a lot of people going live that just really the bar is very low. So I thought maybe I can do it too. Might as well. And it's addictive. And I don't know why it's addictive. But it is addictive. And it can even be a problem a little bit. Like I go live for no reason. Even if I don't have nothing to say. I go live when I get off work. Sometimes I have something I want to talk about. I have some kind of purpose for going live. And sometimes I just have time available to go live. And I just go live. It's like a habit. Here a little bit. You can have some french fries. Don't pay attention to mead. See, look at there. That's a really deep blue lapis lazuli. I'm really starting to wonder about, do y'all think CERN has something to do with those Mandela effects? A lot of these Mandela effects are fake. It's just people don't remember things. They weren't paying attention in school. Or there's more than one version of something, like a director's cut and whatever. But then some of these Mandela effects, I don't know. I just sort of want to trust my memory more. And I'm just like, I don't know. This is weird. It's raining, which is good. They say the government's putting aluminum in there, geoengineering the weather and stuff. I hope not. We sure need the rain. We need the water table to go up a lot more than what it is right now here in Wheeler County, Georgia. Oh, they burning trash over there. I ain't gonna say who is, because I hate how they do that. Like, so we used to have dumpsters out there where you could dump your trash out for free. The county carries it off. But then Telfair decided they were going to make people start paying for their trash removal services. So the people of Telfair didn't want to pay for that. So they said, we'll all go to Wheeler County and dump our trash in their dumpster. And we didn't have enough space for all that. So the people from Telfair would come over here. Our dumpster would be all the way full. And they'd just sit their trash on the ground by the dumpster. And then dogs would chew it up. The wind would blow it. And it would be everywhere. And so it'd become a problem to where Wheeler County decided that they were going to put the dumpsters in these gated places in 2 places of the county. And you got to just show your ID that you're from Wheeler County and go over there and dump your trash, right? Well, there's a lot of people that are like, they can't be bothered to do that. So they just started burning their trash, burning tires, burning plastic. And you go outside and the whole place smells like a fucking burnt tire. And I don't like it. I really don't like it at all. I don't want to breathe it in. I feel almost like, I don't know. At the risk of sounding dramatic, I'm going to say it's almost like an act of terrorism. It's like you're making me breathe in burnt tires and plastic. You're attacking me. You're polluting the air. That air is coming over here. I smell it on my porch. Like, quit fucking burning garbage. You can dump it for free. It really is free. You just go to the gate. You show them your ID. You don't even, mostly they don't even check your ID. You just go over there and throw your trash in the dump. Or you could just be like, dang, I can't drive down the road. I'm going to just burn it in my yard. I hope y'all have a good night. I'm about to get off this live because I really don't have much to say. And it'll just, I don't really want to just be eating online. And I also saw that. And I've done it before. I've been hungry, get off work, be real hungry, and just eat like I'm doing now. But I saw a live stream And someone was just live streaming them eating meals. And I was like, what is this? But I don't want to just live stream myself eating tacos. So I'm going to get off the live stream. And y'all have a good day. Y'all have a good day. I'm not I'm not going to say that. You know, everybody doesn't have the same definitions for words in their head. So sometimes you say a word and you associate that word with a different definition than another person. Sometimes there's a miscommunication because people are talking, but they're defining words different. And so, anyway, y'all have a good day. I'm about to get off the live.